preparers rather than always pushing the auditors. So I think they have programs on that, and over time I think things will improve. Okay. So of course with the new audit exemption, the definition of smaller SMEs, for the companies that are not SMEs, hopefully they are better, they have better qualified persons to prepare financial statements for them. But as Sharik mentioned, the rule is auditors should not be preparing financial statements for clients.
Yeah, and if I just may add one thing, we are all very clear about the rules. We all know as auditors, we cannot prepare financial statements for the client, but that's the rule. Okay, so we have to be practical about it. And as Sharik mentioned, right, we provide skeletal first draft assistance. Okay, but I just wanted to remind everyone, which I think this is very real, because sometimes in the name of expediting matters, you know, the toing and froing of the drafting of financial statements can take a very long time. So as auditors, we know clearly what the financial reporting, especially disclosures, are concerned, right? We know what must go in, what cannot go in. And then what do we do? From the first draft that we get from the client, we start to cancel and we start to change for them. And then we are trying to be very efficient, right? We don't have time. So we forgot to go back to the client and tell them, look, these are the changes that we made. Do you agree? Do you disagree? So I think because one of the traps, okay, that we typically fall into is while we say we never prepare the financial statements, we end up taking it from the client and we start making amendments as if we own the financial statements. So just to take note of that. If you make changes, go back to your client, make sure they agree fully with those changes and they take ownership, responsibility for those changes. Okay?
Just on that, I just wanted to make one point, just for our sort of future in this regard. Because when the rules came out, roughly 10 years ago, that, you know, financial statements cannot be prepared by the auditors. Prior to that, I think generally our clients were quite spoiled. Effectively, we were preparing the accounts, we were typing them, and effectively they were auditing us. And in some cases they will say, oh, no, you prepared the accounts and this was wrong. So they were found a typo afterwards, it will be our fault. Well, it is still our fault, by the way. And now, and when the rules came out, we were all very, very diligent. We said we will not prepare accounts, and you know, a lot of clients started, you know, preparing accounts. But I see some bad practices still creeping in now, and that is partly because we've not enforced. I know you will say what I'm saying is not practical, but really, the clients, our clients, don't get the sense that it is their responsibility to prepare financial statements. If we tell them that it is your responsibility, and I do not know how you change that mindset today, but if you go in other overseas jurisdictions, I'll give you an example, and I'll tell you why I say this. I do a client whose CFO is Australian, and there, in Australia for the most part, and in the UK and elsewhere, the clients prepare their own financial statements, and they're very, very possessive about what gets changed in the financial statements, which is not the case in Singapore. So when we took over the audit over here, through our style, we were making all kinds of changes. And he called me up and he said, look, you know, if you're making changes, tell me what changes to make and justify to me why these changes are required. And he said, let me ask you, whose financial statements are these? I said, yours. He said, then let them be mine. You know, you don't take ownership. You know, even with typing, he said, no, I don't want you to be typing. And I know that's the best case scenario, which is what all of us want. And as Shreya said, in a lot of cases in terms of expediting, that's what we want. But I think we need to educate our clients and really put the ball back in their court in saying it's really your responsibility.
Well, the question is, how practical are these standards to SMEs? Yes, we talk about financial statements now. And with the plan to raise the SME threshold to 10 million, what is the implementation at SMPs? Again, this is not in the clarifiers. As I say, we will try to answer them, I suppose. Yeah.
Okay, like Mr. Singh rightly pointed out, it's not really within the scope, but having said that, at the end of the day, we are all auditors. Okay, there's only one set of auditing standard that we can create. I really do not think anyone in this room want to have multiple sets of auditing standards. If you audit this type of entity, you go for this set A. If you audit this type of entity, you go for set B. Okay, so I think if it comes to that position, I think from a business perspective, it's going to be very costly. Everyone has to be trained in so many different sets of auditing standards. But having said that, end of the day, right, okay, when you look at the auditing standards, right, okay,